do the assessment, or we can provide a resilient city framework. So the indicators which are pertaining to planning I have identified. So the very first thing is when we talk about environment and climate change. So what are the different indicators which talks about the environment and climate change? So we need to understand the magnitude of urban heat island, that is one thing. Then the percentage of natural areas within the city that have undergone ecological evaluation, because in smart cities there is enough scope of going for this ecological evaluations. Then territory undergoing ecosystem restoration as a percentage of total city area. That what percentage we have applying for ecosystem restoration. Then we can take the frequency of extreme rainfall, cold events, and so on. So when we talk in terms of magnitude of urban heat island effect, these two figures we can very well say within the same area the type of vegetation, the type of open spaces we have. So density is important. So when we are doing any kind of planning, whether it is regional plan or zonal plan or even a neighborhood plan, we have to consider this factor to combat the effect of urban heat island. Now, this is one example. Recently, the Mahakal area development has taken place in Ujjain, Madhya Pradesh, under this smart city mission. So you can see that there is a water body which was lying unaddressed. Now it has been taken proper care of, and such interventions of ecological evaluation can help us in combating the different aspects of urban resilience. Again, when we were talking about, there is a graph which shows that what are the principles for water infrastructure in a livable city. So we have to plan for everyday events, then we have to plan for urban storm drainage, and also there are cities which are planning for even cloudburst event. So there are cities, there are examples where even this is one example of Copenhagen, where they have designed their parks in a manner so that even if a cloudburst event will take place, all the water will be stored in the different areas in terms of the parks which they call it as climate parks. So we need to think in terms of such kind of interventions. Then again, here we can see that how they have worked out their plan so that in case of cloudburst event, they can take care of all the excess water within the city itself. So you can see there are certain areas which are acting as parks. At the same time, the same areas are being treated like a reservoir for the rainwater. So this type of interventions are to be taken. Then when we talk about again the air quality, so the what is the PM level concentration in different areas, and this image shows that what level type of different pollutants we have within an area. So we need to take care of all these things while we are doing the planning. Again, the another indicators are housing and shelter. So we have to think in terms of emergency shelters. What are the total number of emergency shelters per lakh population? So when we are doing public and semi-public buildings, maybe we can identify certain public buildings like school or primary health center, which can be constructed in a manner which will act as a emergency shelter during any event of earthquake or any kind of. So people know that we have to rush to such and such building if there is an emergency in terms of earthquake, or we have to rush to such and such building if there is a case of flooding or so. Uh, Recently, we had been seeing that a lot of houses are being constructed under this PMAY scheme. But unfortunately, we fail to understand that what kind of houses we need to provide. So most of the houses which are being constructed, particularly under the scheme called beneficiary-led construction. So we are converting the slums into
the kacha slums into pakka slums. We are not thinking in terms of road width, we are not thinking in terms of the movement of ambulance or fire brigade. So these need to be taken care of when we are implementing all these schemes. Otherwise, after 10 years, when we will be talking about instead of housing, we will be talking about resilient framework. Again, all this houses will be again termed as slums. When we talk about the different indicators which are to be understood in terms of urban planning. So what is the percentage of city area which is available where there is availability of hazard maps? So institute like you and me can work on this particular area where we can prepare the different hazard maps. That in case of hazard, these are the areas which are vulnerable. So there are certain again what are the city land areas which are under the high risk zone, which are the percentage of city departments and utility services that could conduct research risk assessment in their planning and investment. Then again, in terms of what is the green area, 10 lakh population, what is the annual number of tree planted for certain population, then what is the areal size of informal settlements as compared to the percentage of city area. So these are the different indicators which can help us in identifying the resilient capacity of the city. When we talk in terms of solid waste, so number of active and temporary waste management sites which are available for debris and rubber per square kilometer, we need to identify them.
Then again, percentage of city population with regular solid waste collection and so on. So these are the different indicators which can help us in understanding the status of solid waste. Then one important aspect during any case of a disaster is the telecommunication facility. So what is the percentage of emergency responder in the city which is equipped with specialized communication technology and able to operate reliably during a disaster event? Because during the case of disaster, telecommunication or the passing of information becomes very important. Then transportation, like in most, whenever we are in a guest house or a hotel, we know that there will be one map behind the door which will tell us that if it is an earthquake, if it is a flood, we don't get pure water supply or we don't get drinking water. So what kind of thing can be done for the water and sanitation? Then same is with the wastewater, whether the wastewater is collected, whether it has been treated or whether it has been reused or not. So what we need to do to achieve this resilience. So integration of urban resilience principle with development planning process. Like we are preparing the different layers now, we are in the age of GIS. So for each and everything we have one layer. So there should be one layer for this resilient principles as well, where we will talk about what are the different challenges. The challenges before us are the very scarce natural resources, the inequalities in the society, the natural and man-made disasters, and the different imbalances. And what kind of solution we are looking for is building better cities for people. So how we shape our cities to respond to different kind of environmental impacts, to achieve social well-being and economic viability, and the most important is to have a sense of community and connectedness. So this can be done at regional planning level, city planning level, while preparing the different action plans. So we talk about, this is the framework, kind of framework we can have, that there are events like earthquake, flooding, and external weathers. These are shocks. Similarly, the lack of infrastructure and social cohesion leads to stresses, like there is delay in mobility or there are traffic jams. All these things lead to risks, and these risks are to be tackled by the, we need to prepare a resilient framework for this, and the resilient framework will have a good health and well-being, the leadership and strategy, economy and society, and infrastructure and development. So I have identified certain indicators which I have adopted from these two different ISOs of 2014 and 2019. Thank you. It was very much in time. Thank you.
Okay, well presented today. First speaker. All of us knows that the very best point the expert put forward is how to reduce human loss because of resilience. We know that it is two sides of the coin. Resilience is one side. We expect what the local government is trying to do something in our planning principles and the framework and many things are there. But on the other hand, we also see that how coping mechanism is adopted with people. So many disaster time, we know that things are not in place in the beginning. Disaster cycle. A lot of things happening within the community. They think come forward and do a lot of activities before even the collector or somebody responsible person reach there. So it is very important to see the resilience is adaptation in terms of how the society adopts certain things. Other side is what Lotis have presented very well about how to see that special planning in place, where we can see that disaster can be, reduced and then it can be less human loss. Otherwise, it's a very important aspect in planning. Here, I'm just trying to link what is being said in the last 1 month ago in the ISPER conference. They focus on, we just move from wealthy cities to healthy cities. So I also had a presentation on that. So we are having enough things to think about giving the wealth, investments and everything. But how to make health? It's important. This is kind of the informative studies and the ideas are very important to make today's spatial planning, which is human oriented, giving a human face. Thank you so much for your contribution. Please. Okay, the next presenter is on online. We continue.
Has she joined?
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome, madam.
Okay.
Hello. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, please. Okay, Madam Girnani, welcome to the presentation today's morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
So you're speaking from where? Which part of the world?
Jakarta, Indonesia.
Jakarta. What's the time now? Will we say good morning or good afternoon? What?
Noon right now.
Noon.
At
Okay.
noon right now.
So we'll say good afternoon to all. So here we have the speaker is the head of the Environmental Laboratory Department of Environmental Engineering and University Shikshapti. Is it correct? Right, Shakti.
Yes. Yeah,
So
correct.
he's works at the Department of Environmental Engineering and does research in urban air quality management, air pollution control engineering, livability and sustainability. A most recent publication in application of open air model to analyze the air pollution data. So today she's going to speak on what are the gaps in the urban air pollution. Is it right, madam? The topic is right?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah, please
correct.
go ahead with your presentation. Let us understand what is your stake in this particular theme of today's conference, and then we will get back to you. Please go ahead with your
Okay.
presentation.
Thank you. Can you see my presentation?
Yeah, we can see that. Yeah, you can make it full screen if possible. Okay.
Is it okay? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Good morning, distinguished guests and all participants. Thank you for inviting me and having me here right now, although in online. And I really enjoyed and appreciate this routine international seminar, and I learned a lot from other presenters. And I really miss one familiar face, late Bapu Surjit, who introduced me to the ISPER. So I will start my presentation. Gaps in urban air pollution actually is a comparison between India and Indonesia. So air pollution related sustainable development goals indicators is in SDGs number 3 about mortality from air pollution, SDG number 7, access to clean fuels and technologies, and SDGs 11, sustainable cities and communities. And Professor Krishna Dutta earlier also mentioned about these SDGs and air pollution in a bit. So back to the indicator, one of the important indicator is PM 2.5. which is a particulate less than 2.5 micrometers or microns, or we call it fine particles. It causes the lung disease and also related to respiratory illness and may cause cancer. So we see the size of the particle we usually use for urban indicator, urban air pollution. And these are some effects on our health because the PM 2.5 is deep inside our lungs, so it will circulate in our organ, the whole blood system. So actually, the WHO already mentioned about the air pollution as the silent killers, and we'll see here, like more than 2 million people that's caused because of the air pollution in South and East Asia regions, including Indonesia and India.
Sorry, ma'am, there's one small request. The slides are not moving. Can you please?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, please.
sorry.
Yeah,
I
now.
will
Okay, please go
start.
ahead.
So let me see.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Now it's okay.
Yes, yes, yes. Please go ahead.
Okay. So what I mean with the gaps in urban air pollution, 99% of the world population was living in places where WHO air quality guidelines level were not met in 2019. It means the previous WHO guidelines in 2005, and ambient air pollution in both cities and rural area was estimated to cause 4.2 million premature deaths in 2016, and 58% due to ischemic heart disease and stroke, 18% due to the chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and acute lower respiratory infection, and 6% due to lung cancer. And 91% the premature deaths occur in low and middle income countries, and the greatest number in South and East Asia. Besides the outdoor air pollution, the indoor smoke also a serious health risk for 2.4 billion people who cook and heat at their home with biomass, kerosene, fuels, and coal. And the burden of air pollution is not evenly shared, even in the same country. And poorer people and some racial ethnic groups are among those who often face higher exposure to pollutants and who may experience greater response to pollution. So the air pollution deaths from fossil fuels in 2015, and we see Indonesia and India is the highest number here between 1 to 2 million. We'll see the darkest red in this color, in this picture. And in 2021, the WHO revised the air quality guideline. It's more stringent compared to the 2005 guideline. For example, for the PM 2.5, for the 24 hours average, it was like 15. The yellow one is 2005 guideline. So it was the 15 microgram per cubic meters, and now it's kind of like 10 microgram per cubic meters. And for the annual average is from 5 microgram per cubic meter to 2.5 microgram per cubic meter. So it's more difficult for, if we see here, if compare the current air quality data, I mean, in 2021, with the new standards, a lot of urban areas, countries, and urban areas or cities not met the new standards. And for the air quality life index, I use the data from University of Chicago, or we call it ACLI, and we see the upper picture is the global condition, and we see the red one is in India and Indonesia, and also part of the China, and Indonesia is kind of lighter. And we'll see in the picture below, like the India is number two with the polluted from air pollution, and Indonesia is number 52. But if we can try to meet the WHO standards, the India will gain 5 years is compared to the current condition, and Indonesia will have 1.2 years gains in the life expectancy. So we'll see the deaths by risk factors in the world is the various of disease. If we see from the 1990 to 2019, uh, the high blood pressure increase very sharp, and followed by the from the smoking, and air pollution is include the indoor and outdoor air pollution, and we see the outdoor pollution is getting higher, and indoor actually getting lower. So if we see the risk factor, the air pollution is number three risk in the world. And if we compare between India and Indonesia, we'll see the air pollution. The indoor air pollution is decreasing, but the outdoor is still increasing. But the total is decreasing based on the indoor air pollution. And even a pandemic situation didn't make the air pollution is getting better. This is data from 2020. And last year data from the IQR about the World Air Quality Report by the region, and we'll see this India is number 5, Indonesia is number 70, and the regional or capital cities, New Delhi number 1, and I think Jakarta is number 12. So this is the comparison, the whole world that mostly in, I said earlier, in Asia, South and East Asia are most polluted. And this is, I mean, the daily issues right now, like in Jakarta, about the air pollution. And even we went to the people did the class action, and we win the action. And if we see comparison again between Indonesia and India, there are so many cities more in India with heavier pollution. But in Indonesia, mostly concentrated in the Java island, especially in the capital city of Jakarta. We can see down here, Jakarta, then Surabaya, is mostly in the Java island. So half of the world's population live in urban areas, and only 12% of cities reporting to the WHO meet the standards. And globally, 1 in 8 premature deaths are caused by air pollution. So it's about 7 million premature deaths annually. By reducing air pollution, cities and countries can reduce the burden of disease from stroke, heart disease, lung cancer, respiratory disease, and for more than 1/2 world population. So urban planning plays an important role in reducing air pollution. Uh, as we know, the new approach in urban planning, such as the Sustainable Development Goals, as I mentioned, there are three earlier: Paris Agreement, Urban Agenda, and Low Carbon Development. Then there's a framework like integrating air quality in urban planning. Some call it air quality planning, air quality management plan, air quality roadmap, or air quality action plan. And there are technological development involved in planning, and often some sources of both form of air pollution and climate change are same. And improving the energy efficiency of buildings, making city more green and compact is most uh, issues that related how to integrate urban planning and air pollution and reducing air pollution. That's why I add this two more SDGs. It's SDGs number 12 and number 13. And as comparison, actually, I saw the action plan for combating air pollution in India is more comprehensive compared that Indonesia have right now. So it's really good to see this kind of plan. I want this is also the I think identification of cities uh, that has have problem with the air pollution. And for Jakarta, I cannot get the similar things, but we have the plan not for Indonesia, as I said that right now it's focused on Jakarta. So actually we have the plan since 2007 and the plan until 2030. And we call it the low emission plan. And also we, like for Jakarta now, I think earlier presenter also show about monitoring the air quality. Here we use the low-cost sensors, now getting more familiar for the public. So citizen will see the immediate information about the air quality surrounding them. And there is a relationship between health and urban environments. This is in general, but we see the urban design will influence the behavior and how the air pollution pathways and also the disease and the mortality because of disease related to the air pollution. And there is actually offered by right now we have a program with the World Resource Institute, Jakarta, and also Indore in India is the similar program, and also C40 try to integrating air quality and climate change planning, and Jakarta will be part of this program also. So, in urban planning, also one of aspects about the green infrastructure, but as it's that the urban vegetation can reduce the air pollution and creating the fine a better uh, um, climate, microclimate, but what you call it, the problem is we have sometimes we don't have limit we have we have limitation with the land for the green thing. So planting trees as much as possible still cannot meet the air quality standards. The recent measurement about the air pollution in Jakarta, although in a green area or urban or green space area, still higher compared to WHO new standards. And we try to, as said earlier, to integrate with the climate change planning, to have better protect the environmental health of the people. And but although we have the plan or the program to integrate between the air quality and climate change, with how to change the behavior, to monitor the air quality, uh, and I think the big issue still the affordable and clean energy here. Yeah, because we still highly dependent on coal power plant. So although we use now Jakarta is introducing the electric vehicle, but the source of the electricity is still mostly from coal power plant. It will remove the air pollution from the street, from the gasoline, but from the power plant still a big issue. And recently, government wants to uh, uh, set down the coal power plant with the renewable energy, but it's still on discussion, not real planning. So I think still a big issue in integrating urban planning and air pollution. Air quality planning is in the uh, provision of clean power or clean energy. I think that's all my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your well presented ideas on how you are trying to link the comparing between the Indian and Indonesian context about the air pollution. You also mentioned about this project work with Indore and Jakarta. So some of the aspects, what you presented in the beginning also, that talking about life expectancy, because it is more important in terms of the human health point of view. And you also experience in Jakarta and even many cities also, the air quality is matters a lot in terms of the increasing vehicle ownership and the type of the mobility behavior of the people, moving from place to place. Even within a neighborhood, people just take a two-wheeler or four-wheeler moving for shopping, and then so that in the tendency of using more vehicles, this is a major source of pollution. But how to manage the mobility related local areas livelihood needs. That's what in yesterday also some presentation about how 20-minute cities and in other cities also there's some countries we're talking about 15-minute cities, making more the neighborhoods are more healthy aspect. So it's very interesting to learn from you. So there are similar way we look at from the cities and air pollution in both Indian and Indonesian context. So I have a question, madam. You will be present here, or then maybe we will take up some questions from any audience here. We will be able to respond, or you will be joining for the next few speakers. Then we will take it up at the end, or you will be comfortable if we just keep a chance for some,
Okay,
just to
I
ask
will.
questions.
I will be here, still here.
So if any of you are interested in asking some questions or some observations, can you please come forward? Yeah, please.
Very small.
Very good morning, ma'am. My name is Sachin Singh. I'm a PG scholar at Northern University in Haryana, India. So my question is, what are the ultimate, what are the practical solutions that can be implemented in the Indian cities, suppose in Delhi NCR, or in any of our class one city of North India, uh, just to cater these pollution issues, like the higher amount of AQI is causing a lot of problems to the, to the personal health, from the human health, basically. Uh, Eventually, some personal air purifiers and some indoor air purifiers are being installed, and also some of the indoor air purifiers, like those towers, basically, are installed. But I don't think so. These are the practical solutions. So can you please recommend any sort of, you know uh, any technique or anything that this issue of pollution can be catered in a mannered way? Thank you.
Uh, thank you, but sorry if I'm not clearly hear your voice. You asked about the IoT and air quality monitoring in Jakarta, if I'm not wrong. Mr. Moderator, can you help me about the question, because I cannot hear his voice clearly.
How to reduce air pollution in the North Indian city. He was asking basically that how we. The question, Ms. Hernani, is
You can put it in your context. What are the measures taken in Jakarta in terms of the spatial urban planning? You have any idea? You can please put forward that.
Okay. Jakarta or Indonesia only have two seasons, a wet and dry season. We don't have a winter season, so I don't have experience with the condition air pollution in Jakarta compared to the India who experience the winter season. But in the case of Jakarta, the air pollution concentration decreased during the uh, rainy season or wet season. But in Jakarta, the comparison between the rainy and dry season is not really sure, because even during the dry season, we still have rain quite a lot. And in the case of Jakarta, actually, when we have the high speed, uh, mm, wind speed and direction to the ocean, with the high wind speed and direction to the ocean, it's actually from south to north in Jakarta, and we can have a clear air quality. So it's not only because of the rain, but it also related to the wind speed and wind direction. And we have right now, that's the meteorological condition is natural condition, but we have very massive development in we have the bus rapid transit already in a good condition, and we have a light rail transit, and MRT, mass rapid transit, is already ongoing or in operational, but the light rapid transit is still ongoing, and I hope early next year we will can use that transportation. So as I said earlier, in the case of Jakarta, we have massive transportation planning, and we have good, we have regulation 30% of uh, green space, but because our fuel for the vehicle is still not good, because we are still in the Euro 2, not in Euro 4, even 6. So the air quality is still a problem in Jakarta. That's what I can say.
Okay, thank you very much, madam. And also you rightly pointed out that there is a need for looking at microclimatic areas, improving the air quality situation. This also been done there are in Indian cities also trying to see that how we can have more open spaces and green areas. What is it called internationally? Also, green infrastructure development is also the concern for planning today. It's very valid, as you said rightly, that it is one side we see that how the vehicular pollution can be reduced technologically. Other side we can see how spatial planning can respond to that in cleaning the cities and let bring back to the nature to the cities. That's a very good approach which we are also planning to. Many of the institutions and research and education subjects also been introduced and the government's also trying to do. Thank you very much for your valuable points and
Thank
contribution.
you very much.
Please, if you would like to continue, you will be listening to other experts also. Thank you so much for your
Yeah.
time. Please have a nice day. Okay, we will move on to the next presentation. So we have Dr. Pawan Kumar. He's come from Delhi. He's a Town and Country Planning Organization. He's the Ministry of Urban Housing and Urban Affairs. He's basically an architect planner, having a bachelor's degree in architecture and master's degree in town planning and PhD in transportation. Right now, he's working with the ministry and having about more than 2 decades of experience in housing and professional experience in the field of architecture, town planning, and disaster management. He had more than hundreds of technical papers, which has been published in various international and national journals. He's also around 10 chapters in books, and visited many countries also. And he's also working on this capacity building under the umbrella sub-scheme, the formation of GS-based master plan. So today he is here to share his views on affordable housing, the technology-oriented approach. Case study is going to speak to us about lighthouse projects in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, especially from the PMAY project. Dr. Pawan sir, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Good morning to everyone. It is a privilege for me to stand before you. So, respected all the personality on the dais and off the dais. First time when I received the brochure regarding this conference, I have seen the name of Dr. Kulwant Singh, sir. Such a great personality in that institute means it is something special. That's why I wrote. And first time I came to this institute, just for the record purpose also, I am also thankful to Dr. Abdul Razak sir. When I was a student in SPA Delhi, he was my teacher. I also record the appreciation of Dr. K.K. Dhote. When I was a student in NIT Bhopal, he was my senior to take the rank. So it is a God's blessing and teacher blessing. I am sitting adjacent to them. I am also thankful to the Dr. Anand sir from NIT Jaipur. He is also good teacher for me all the time. He is the only teacher to whom I talk everything. Means you understand. I'm also thankful to my students to whom I have taken the Viva in NIT Bhopal. Now they have started their career in the planning professionals and they are here. So that is the advantage of this type of the conference. Really, see, from my director, teacher and our students, all are here in the same room. So I am thankful to ISPER to inviting me and giving me opportunity to share my experience. Here, that is a live project here. That is the topic that I have taken. That is the affordable housing, technology-oriented approach. And one case study we have included here, that is a lighthouse project that is recently completed in the city of Chennai. And this project comes under the Prime Minister Awas Yojana urban area. Now let us see how the things are moving. Long back, 20-25 years ago, when I was a student in architecture and the planning the SPA, and IIT also at that time, we are thinking so many times, what is the actual definition of the house? Even I remember when I went to the UPSC interview, they asked me what is the difference between house and housing. Simple definition they asked. And here I have brought some more slides only for the MTech and PhD students who are doing the research work. So once we talk about the housing, we are talking about the shelter plus services plus everything. Without services, without amenity, only house cannot make the person survive. And if you see literature, so many literature, national, international journals, they're talking so many types of the housing: temporary housing, permanent housing, rental housing, low-cost housing, affordable housing, sustainable housing, housing for urban poor, like that. Once you go through the various literature, every times they are talking this type of the different type of category of the housing and the different characteristics. In this presentation, I just try to focus affordability, how the things become affordable a man so that we can purchase the house. So when it talks about the affordable housing, the design is only criteria through which we can do the intervention. And 5 different interventions is possible in housing sector, so that the house becomes the affordable, the house becomes the low cost, and a common person can purchase a house. First thing is the M1, that is the man. Means whatever the local advertisement and local expertise is available should be clubbed with the professional all the time. As an engineer, as an architect, as a town planner, we have the degree, we have the exposure, fine. But at the same time, the local people know much better than us, much better than us. So their expertise and the professional both should work together, and through this, we can only possible to make the design intervention in make a house affordable. Second thing, the technique, and fourth and third thing, the technology. Both are important. Both are important. Recently, one book has released, Architecture Without Architect, A minus A equal to 0. And the book clearly talks, unless and until we don't know the technique, at the same time, we are not aware about the technology, nothing going to be happening. Just remember our student life. When was the student in BTech MTech, at that time we have the calculator FX100. It means calculator had 100 functions. But how many functions we use? 30, 30, 40, 45, 50, not more than this. But today, we have the mobile, 1000 functions. Every function we know. Every function we know. So that is the technology, but technique is also important. Technique is also important. Unless until we do not take the local technique in design process, cost never be reduced. Never be reduced. So technique and technology, these are the another area through which we can make the intervention and make the house affordable. Third, fourth is the affordability. That depends how much we earn and what is the source of income. And fourth is the material specification. Material specification, that is very, very important to us to understand. So these are the 5 areas through which we can do the intervention in the design to reduce the cost, reduce the price, and make the house affordable to the people. Now, just have a look. These are the various definitions we can read in literature: sustainable housing, affordable housing, housing affordability index, and cost of living. Just try to understand what is the things happening in the case of affordable housing. It refers to the housing unit that are affordable by the section of the society which income is below the median household income. A particular level of income of the each city has. The median income of city of New York is totally different from the city of Mumbai. So this particular median level income, that should be known to us as a design professional. Below that, we can say it may come under the category of affordable housing. Once we talk about the affordable housing, there is another terminology that is used, housing affordability index. And what is that? It's the assessment of a person's ability to purchase a house in a particular location. I can purchase a house in Chandigarh, I can purchase a house in here also, Panchkula also. But important thing is afford the cost of living in the town and city. Can I really afford what is the cost of living in the city of Chennai with compared to the Panchkula? That factor is very, very important, because the cost of living is always related to the cost of basic services like the food, healthcare, taxes, and other things you are bearing. Healthcare is very, very important. Many times things after retirement where you should go. First factor is you should your own house plus health facilities should be available at the affordable cost. So this cost of living is also one of the components which define the affordability at the same time. Once any program and policy we make, at that time, this cost of living is very, very important to us. So through this way, we are moving that one. There is another things, affordable housing. Here we can see this affordable housing is associated with the income. Now the income changed and people started talking about the plot area and the floor area. Again, the concept followed by the plinth area and the carpet area. Many times the builders gives advertisement in terms of plinth area. But once we come to the owner of the plot, we talk about the plot area and we try to see how much plinth area we can create and generate on the same plot by using the FAR, so that will be a hotel that should be related to the affordable housing. Another important thing, the ratio of housing expenditure to the income. Very, very important. Almost 40% money you are using for the housing expenditure with compared to the income. So this ratio also vary from city to city. Those who are the master degree and PhD student, you should take on thesis on it. Just try to say what is the percentage of amount we are expending. Suppose in the metropolitan city, 20% amount we spend on the transport and 40% we spend on the housing, then 60, 65, 70% gone. Then what is the quality of life there? Then how can define the affordable housing? So that is also important and that needs a special study. Apart from this thing, size of dwelling unit and housing rent is also there. EMI we know because nowadays housing loan is available. And that should not be more than 13 to 40% of the gross monthly income. And nowadays, new terminology come super built up area. Many private builders, they're using this terminology now. And they make a good demonstration about what is the difference between the plinth area, carpet area, and the built-up area and the super built-up area. And this way, they make the things happen. Now, these are the guidelines prepared by the ministry in 2011, how the EWS, LIG, and MIG can do that. Here you can also find super built-up area used. Carpet area has been used. And these are the criteria nowadays to define the affordable housing. Apart from this thing, let us take in GST term. Now we become much familiar about the GST. Just have a look here. As per the GST, what is the affordable housing? In metropolitan city, the price of the unit should be 15 lakhs and below, and carpet area to be 60 square meter and below. But in the non-metro city, that should be 90 square meter and below. But the price is almost same they are keeping. Now these are new criteria come in terms of GST. I am seeing some young people that is also required a good research paper and term paper, how this GST application is applicable and how the things are affecting to the market in our country. Another thing is, we never talk about the affordable housing that is always related to the technology. Due to technology, the mass production of mobile is available in the market. And that's why it costs 5,000 to 50,000 rupees. So technology is always there. Unless until we are not familiar about the technology, the gap between demand and supply cannot be fulfilled. Technology always promote the mass production, and technology always provide not in terms of quantity, but in terms of quality also. So affordable housing, which needs the mass construction of housing, is only possible by the technological advancement. Now let us have some case study in how this technology can help to prepare an affordable housing scheme. If you see that is the lighthouse project comes under the Prime Minister Awas Yojana, it is a model housing project in which 1,000 houses will be built with the alternate technology. Government of India has selected 25 alternate technologies. Based on this technology, we have to complete this project. So that is the total number of lighthouse project, and you take it as a pilot basis is only 6. It is a model housing project, minimum 1,000 houses to be built, and technology is suitable to the geoclimatic and the hazard condition of the region. Remember in the architecture time, you have to study the climate, sun path diagram, wind flow, all these things. Generally, we pass the paper, but once you come to make the policy making and guideline making, that knowledge is very, very important. And in this case, how the technology can help us. Second important thing is the natural hazard nowadays that is prevailing across the globe. So based on these two factors, technology has been selected. Location is 6 different locations, and these houses provide the lighthouse project because it is just a model, so providing the light or roshni deta hai so that we can understand how the things go ahead. Just have a see, these are the 6 locations in India: Indore, Rajkot, Chennai, Ranchi, Agartala, and Lucknow. 6 different zones across the country have been selected. Technology is also given. And number of dwelling units that are built under this program in this location is, you can see, minimum is 1,000, that is Agartala, ratio is 1,000 plus. Those who are doing master degree and PhD degree want to go summer training. Instead of running one office to another office, go to this type of the technology and the agency who are implementing this project. That is the better to understand. Any person can ask anything in the interview. Once you are to the masking, the housing, they can ask to the technology part also. So here the technology part given, that should be familiar to us. And BMTPC, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, published a compendium, and that compendium is much useful for the researcher. Just have a look. Here, these are the various locations, these are the technology and construction agency name I also mentioned here. Those who want to contact, you can contact through the Google. आप Google पर जाएंगे तो इसका एड्रेस मिल जाएगा. And approach them for the summer training. Approach them for the professional training. They can give much better understanding about the technology and how the technology can be used in housing to make a housing affordable. So these are the importance of this slide. These are the 3D view of the whole housing complex. One side we are talking about the affordable housing, but it looks like a much better housing what we are generally live. Just see here. Many times a student did not read the newspaper, they just go to the internet, but I always request go to the Man Ki Baat also. 79 episode, Man Ki Baat, 25th July 2021, it was a year in which Honorable Prime Minister had highlighted this lighthouse technology. How this technology can help us to make a project work as a incubation center, development center across the country. इसलिए as a architect planner, we should always listen sometime Man Ki Baat also. इसमें भी बहुत कुछ होता है. And once you go to the UPSC interview, generally people ask from this side. ये पूरा episode is just download from the Google and see how he, as a honorable Prime Minister, how he's talking about the technology and technology for the housing to make them urban, affordable people like that. So that is the things here they have really air at that time. Now that I am talking about the technology, in the Ranchi, houses are built using the 3D construction system that is used in the Germany. Before adopting in our country, expert group have studied this technology, how the Germany is using. And after the using, as for the Indian condition, this German technology have brought in India, and this is used in the Ranchi, in the city of Ranchi, in state of Jharkhand. Here, every room is constructed separately, and then the entire structure is joined together, the block wire joint. You can see the photographs here, and the things are going on. Ranchi जाने का कभी मौका मिले, just see this project, how the things are happening there. Because the technology of Germany nowadays we are using in our own country. Many times we have the 3D product. हम गिफ्ट में कभी-कभी लोगों को दे देते हैं कि ले लो 3D product. Now the 3D housing. That is the thing. Before adopting, लोगों ने कितना मेहनत किया होगा to understand the technology, to know the technology, good thing, bad thing, advantage, disadvantage, suitable for Indian condition, not condition, Indian city condition, not condition, as per the taste of the city resident or not resident, all these factors have been studied. And after that, the things have been finalized. So that is the importance of this technology. Second, in the Chennai, that is use the precast concrete system. Generally, this type of technology used in the America and the Finland, and by this houses are get built faster and the low cost. This second case we can see much in detail. Third, in Agartala, technology from the New Zealand are used. That is known as light gauge steel structure system, and it can withstand the major earthquake because these are the made of the steel frame. Steel frame. एक thesis तो इसके ऊपर हो ही सकती है, at least master degree. So that is the importance of these things in Agartala case. In lighthouse in the Indore, that is the prefabricated sandwich panel system used in the place of brick and mortar wall. These are the construction already going on. Very soon it will be completed. Then the Rajkot, the lighthouse is made of the French technology in which the tunnel monolithic concrete technology is used. And a house made with this technology can be more capable of withstanding the disaster. Again, the construction is going on. And sixth one is the Lucknow technology from Canada. In this, plaster and paints are not required. Walls prepared in advance are used to build a house fast. So these are the things happen. All these things have been taken from the Man Ki Baat episode when the Honorable Prime Minister talks about this thing. Now let us have the focus on the Chennai part 1. This is the overall view of the Chennai part housing project, lighthouse project under the Prime Minister Awas Yojana that is totally completed. It provided affordable, durable, environmental friendly houses, 1,152 flats built with the modern infrastructure, and that were totally dedicated to the family. That already happened there. Here, all these houses are across the 12 towers and 6 floors. 12 towers and 6 floors, in which they have accommodated these 1,152 houses. All the basic infrastructure like the internal water supply, sewer line, even the LED street lights are also provided. Water harvesting also provided. Apart from this thing, Anganwadi, shop, milk booths, etc. are also made available there so that it is easy for live for them. These are the total location. Plot area you can see here. Carpet area 26.78 square meter, let us say 27. And in this way, various provisions are given there. These are the basic specifications regarding the foundation, structure frame, walling, floor slabs, and how the things happening there. And these are the lighthouse project in Chennai was completed in a year with the use of precast concrete structure in the site. Within a year, the project completed. So that is the beauty of the technology. That should be familiar to us as a planning professional and the design professionals. These are the layout plan for the architecture students. These are the block plans we can see. This is the unit plan and 3D view. This is the unit plan, all the expression, length, width, area, and unit they have given. And this is the newspaper Indian Express say lighthouse project. It is a game changer housing project. What is the cost of this whole project? 1,152 dwelling units has been created by using the 116 crores. So roughly you can see that comes to 10 to 11 lakhs. That is the things are possible. Only to the technology within a year that can happen. That was the Indian Expressway said. That is the Hindu sage. New technology part also. And some Twitter message also there. Now finally I can say the use of technology and expertise in technology is very, very important. Very, very important. As a design professional, as a town planner, as a policy maker, guidance maker, the most important is we should know the use of technology and expertise of technology is very, very important. Because that are useful in the mass construction and the mass production of housing stocks. Geolocation and geoclimatic condition is a very, very important thing. In architecture course, just one semester, just one paper it taught about the climatic things, and hardly any thesis happened on these things. But now, once it started to make this thing, we can recall what our teacher taught. Brought the previous lecture notes and that book, what we have used for the preparation of GATE at that time. And by using all this expertise, this are considered in the planning and designing of the safe and sustainable houses. Third thing is that once this projects will be completed that become the development center in the country will be recognized. Because that's why the name is given as lighthouse. Lighthouse. They're just throwing the light. Another thing is planning and designing of sustainable and affordable housing is a matrix of design and technology. वो time चला गया कि single design can help you. Now the design should mix with the technology. A complete matrix is required. Second thing, mass production, affordability, economical, techniques, technology, all these things comes in the form of matrix. Then only it is possible. Some area technique can help, some area technology can help, some area mass material specification can help. So whole things is possible once we able to prepare the matrix of the system. Another thing is experiment on material and design is very, very important. Working experience and learning experience due to new technology. Once we do this type of the working and learning technology for the architects, engineers, town planners, interior designers, and other professionals, that can really give a complete understanding of the life of this type of the things. So with these words, I finish my presentation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Pawan. Your topic was light, but your presentation was very sound and timely. But I first thought this project lighthouse. I don't know lighthouse project. First it came to my mind, Chennai, the beach. There is a lighthouse. In many cities, they have lighthouse. I was wondering what is the lighthouse project, and then you end with that saying there is something different. You bring brightness to the minds of the face of the people. That's the light. I got the meaning now. So otherwise, I thought you were going to speak of lighthouse in Chennai, the Marina Beach. Anyway, it's very interesting that the dimensions of lighthouse or the affordable housing is put in very clearly that it's not the house that we discussed yesterday. I was talking about house and home. Now he's talking about house and housing. It's always different. It's not the only building, but it's also the place where people can live in along with the facilities and infrastructure. And other things also, I see that where you are very much into the line of discussing about the plot size and plinth area. Design is also very, very important in terms of housing is concerned. Also, you have linked with the GST also. It's very interesting, the rate of, because housing is income. We also know that in Indian context, the housing allotment by housing board or any central scheme is all income based. So low income, middle income, economically weaker section. Even in the middle income is also upper middle income, and we go by the number. So because sometimes I always look at these numbers, the 2000 and below is EWS, and 2001 and 5000 is LIG. So I see that sometimes I tell my students 1 rupee matters for even your eligibility for applying for any position, any kind of housing demand requirements. So I tell my students, think a little more carefully about 2000 and 2001 makes what difference. So when we put a line 2001, it is like a, in our class interval in statistics, we study about, below age group 1, then we will say that above 1 plus 1 and 2. Then again, where you will put the tally mark, here 1 or there 1. So it's like a marking also like that. It is like marks about 99 something, and then we'll go 99 or 89, then put 90 into the top person. So like it's a very technically something which is I thought it's maybe interesting to me to say that. So anyway, it's a very interesting presentation, and then hopefully that we'll see that some kind of reaction from our respective, respective audience.
At the end of the
Sorry,
session. We can take
at the end of the session. Thank you, sir, once again. So, okay, now let's move on to the next presentation. Is also Mrs. Riya Malik. Madam is on the line. Welcome, Madam Riya Malik. Good morning. Hello. Can you hear?
Hello. Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. So let me just briefly tell about this of today's expert which is on the line, which is Mrs. Riya Malik, is an urban designer and ICS DLF Ahmedabad. She is a sustainable urban development and tourism infrastructure professional working group, working as an urban designer in ICSC in Ahmedabad. Her doctoral work was focusing on water sensitive city development and urban vulnerability in India. More than 6 years of experience in urban development, tourism development sector. She also worked in the smart cities-based development in Bangalore, Narmada waterfront conceptual planning in Bharuch, Gujarat, and perception of heritage management plan. Also involved in several urban development, sustainable tourism development projects, including the inclusive heritage management plan across India. And this number of interesting projects done in different parts of the country also sounds very experienced. And we look forward to listen from your perspective on the given topic of new urbanism, because this is what we will talk more in terms of urbanization to new urbanism and experimental approach towards a sustainable and inclusive city development in India. So, can you please start your presentation?
Um, yes, I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, yes, yeah, okay, we can hear you. Yeah, visible.
Yeah, okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for this opportunity to present some of the ideas of new urbanism here. My colleague, Professor Bandupadhyay, is unable to join today, so I will take the presentation forward. And based on the given theme of the seminar today about the new urban agenda, reorienting transformation strategies for livable cities and sustainable communities, we will be talking about the tool of urban development, which is the new urbanism, for sustainable and inclusive city development. And here we would like to highlight, some of the massive and hidden urbanization process in India, and how the cities are facing few of the challenges because of the urbanizations and climate vulnerability, and how the new urbanism tool can actually help us to reimagine India for a more sustainable, safer, and inclusive future. So, as you all know, that India is in the forefront of massive urbanizations, rapid urbanizations, and it is expected that by 2050, India's populations will reach about 880 million. On the other hand, the urban areas is actually and one of the core for our country's economic development, and like around about two-thirds of our India's economic development is directly related with the urban areas, and it is always expected that this will continues to grow, and in nearly it will be like expected 80% of India's GDP will link to the urban areas. Hence, this kind of rapid economic growth and increase in relative prosperity is actually bringing more and more people to the urban areas. And the cities are expanding in a rapid manner, which is, at about 20-25 square kilometer per year. Here in the nightlight map, it is clearly seen that how our Indian cities are actually, transforming rapidly, or, growing rapidly over a period of time. Recently, World Resource Institute have done a kind of a study to showcase like the urban expansion pattern for the Indian cities, and the result have been found that Indian cities have a huge peripheral growth. For example, if we take an example of city Delhi, yearly it is expanding about 54 square kilometer, So this is the current urbanization scenario in India. And on the other hand, because of these rapid urbanizations and peripheral expansions and all, Indian cities are also more prone to various climate vulnerabilities, such as urban flood and heat wave and pollution, air pollutions and water pollutions and so on and so forth. And it is very interesting to say that, for it has been identified that near future, the urban expansion will grow and grow. And through various national and UN projections, it has been suggested that, the Indian urbanization is going to be in trouble in next 25 years. So, this is where we need to think about, how the urban development policy framework and development management and the decision makers can take the rapid urbanization as an opportunity to build a better future, a sustainable, safer, and in an inclusive way. And that's why we need to start think about, new urbanism. So basically, the new urbanism is a tool of urban development where we talk about an human scale urban development, urban design, more walkability, and then introducing more and more public places, restoring the natural resources that our cities are having, and in a nutshell, how to develop and reshape our cities in a more climate resilient and sustainable.
This presentation is not moving.
Is there any issue?
Hello, madam.
Why don't you do the full screen?
Can you, your slides are moving, madam.
Can you see now?
Yeah, but
You can go on full screen.
Can you go for full screen?
Yeah, it is full screen only, sir.
No, but we are not able to see that slide.
Okay, just maybe I'll just reshare the screen again.
Yeah, please.
Is it visible now?
It's the same as previous.
I don't know what's the issue. But it is actually in the
It's
full
not,
screen.
but make it sure that the slides are moving. This recording
Is my slides moving?
No, ma'am.
तुम्हारे पास है क्या? Presentation यहाँ. अब चल रही थी.
Okay. Okay, yeah, let me just reshare the screen. Yeah. Is it now moving and full screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's moving now.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Continue.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so sorry for the interruption. Okay, so at this scenario, we need to think about the concept of new urbanism and where we can actually promote some of the ideas of walkable cities and sustainable urbanism and sustainable urban infrastructures, blue and green infrastructures, urban horticulture, introducing non-motorized transport systems, and also like how to get an access to urban public places like green public places around. So, as a result of the idea of new urbanism, few of our Indian cities have actually started working towards smart in this new urbanism approach, and it is not only at the urban level to make it more better urban planning framework and introducing more and more green spaces, walkabilities, and other things, but also at the building level. So when we talk about new urbanism, the concept of new urbanism or a sustainable urban development, it is not only at the urban level but also at the building level. Because rapid urbanizations means over a period of time there will be lot of built up areas will be coming up into the city. So to face the concretization, how we can deconcretize it and introduce green and sustainable development approach, like this kind of green roofing, green walling, this kind of thing. And then promoting non-motorized vehicle transport systems, e-vehicles and smart cities is actually an huge transformations in our Indian cities, the scenario of our Indian cities. One of the very important thing which our honorable prime minister have made a strong commitment in Glasgow COP26, that by 2030 Indian cities are expected to substantially reduce its carbon emissions and fossil fuel capacity and carbon intensity at every level. And by 2070, we are actually targeting to achieve net zero. Now, keeping all these things in mind and towards fulfilling the commitment of our honorable prime minister, I believe that as an urban developer, as an urban designer or a planner, now this is a time when we need to think how to introduce various new development approach and sustainable approach which can make a better future for the cities. In that scenario, I would like to showcase one case study of a new urbanism approach which we have used while developing an waterfront, Netravati waterfront under Mangalore smart city. It is an 45 kilometer long waterfront development, and we have used various kind of new urbanism approach and design technologies and innovative ideas to make it a very vibrant public place for the city as well as for the community. And the concept which was adopted for this particular project was not only at the pilot level, but how to connect the same concept at the area level as well as at the city level in a holistic development approach, I would say in a nutshell. And how the reconnecting the water bodies, the existing river to the cities, and the existing scenario, the conditions of the river bank, based on that how we can give different kind of and zoning ideas and the development approach by using more nature based solutions, making room for the rivers and other things. And then how to introduce the walkability and the concept of non-motorized vehicle, green avenues, to make the waterfront as a vibrant nature friendly and people friendly public place for the cities. And one of the very innovative ideas that have been pitched during this project was how we can use the underpass bridge, which is cutting across the river, and develop it as an public place for different kind of public activities. And as we know that Mangalore is an hot and humid place. So during the summer and all, this kind of an public place can actually people help to people to take rest, spend some time, do various kind of activities and other things. So, well, I would like to conclude my presentations by saying that when we are standing in front of the rapid urbanizations, climate vulnerabilities, and a commitment, strong commitment towards a better future, as an urban developer, it is always important that how we can use this kind of a new design tool and policies and framework and nature-based solutions and more importantly, a very innovative and holistic urban planning approach to make our cities safe and resilient and sustainable for the future. So I think that's it. I will conclude my presentation over here now. And thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I don't know. We couldn't see the entire slides because we stuck up in one of the slides where we were presenting all the four sub-unit for the diverse smart city. It's okay. We just got the point that you are focusing on the subject of how we can make integration in terms of NMT as well as the green avenues for public, and then also you have pointed out that the nature and people-friendly public spaces is much more important to this context, which you have put in a framework of urban new urbanism. It's an interesting way of looking at how you have presented with the case of the waterfront of 45 kilometers, and also you highlighted with the national level and the city level significance in the topic of your interest. Thank you so much for your valuable points and then discussion.
Thank you so much.
So we'll move to the next presenter. So far we are listening to our experts from a subjective point of view and planning point of view, and we have the next speaker is going to give a very different dimension, which we are now really important in terms of our planning and implementation, which is about the policy dimension. So in that respect, I would like to introduce the speaker, Mr. P.B. Singh sir. He is the Chief Town Planner and Town and Country Planning Department, Haryana. Basically, he is from the field of civil engineering and completed his degree during 1992. And he did his M3M housing from SP Delhi during 1994. Work-wise, he got a lot of experience in working with HUDCO, HSMI, for 4 years till 98 in the research and training wing. Later, he joined the Department of Town and Country Planning, Haryana, in 1998 as a town planner. Got elevated today, so this time, 2021, as a Chief Town Planner. A lot of experience in terms of, as I said, that we are looking at another new dimension in the presentation from today's morning, the policy formulation involving Town and Country Planning Department, Haryana. Sir, over to you.
Thanks a lot, sir.
We are looking forward to listen to your policy perspective of today's conference speech. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir, for the kind words. We start with how responsive has the state been with respect to the policy formulations pertaining to the urban development sector in the state with changing times. So just a brief overview of the state compared to the urbanization levels of the country. There is a slightly uptick in the urbanization rate of the state, which is growing at 35% compared to the country, which is 31%. Several towns are heavily urbanized, more than 50%. And the difference of population getting added in a decade in the urban areas is close to double of what the number of population is getting added in the rural areas. So that's important. From the development plan perspective, the approximately 82% of the statutory towns or census towns, we already have a development plans prepared, and close to 89% of the urban population, it's getting accommodated in these development plans. So the development planning process has been quite strong in the state, and it's all done in-house. though some people may have quite many issues about the quality of plans being prepared, but at least it's all done in-house, so we are aware of the shortcomings, and we are looking forward to doing better in that. So the jurisdiction part, close to 28% of the state is controlled area. So when we are saying controlled area, means basically the areas which have potential for building, construction, urbanization. So only over there, basically the town planning department has its jurisdiction. The rest of the state, we are not having. And so the development plans basically are to be prepared for these areas. So coming to the institutional framework. So I represent the town planning department here. Our director sir is here. Jaswantji, he has served a long time, and so we have quite a few presence in the hall also. Nadeem sir, he has been with Huda, yeah, and now with Vera. So if we see the overall framework, the department is primarily involved with development plans and then regulating the private developers primarily. So what we are addressing is the supply side concerns of housing infrastructure, housing and urban infrastructure. So we are not directly addressing the demand side. The demand side gets addressed by the public sector agencies or at the field level by GMDA in terms of the services, GMDA, FMDA, PMDA, and Housing Board. So we are primarily addressing the supply side concerns of the sector. So not much direct citizen interface. We do have citizen interface when we are preparing development plans, seeking objections, and intending to make better resilient plans in that manner. But as long as day-to-day concerns of the citizens are concerned, relating to water supply, sewerage, cleanliness, public transport, mobility, so all those are being addressed by different agencies. So since we are addressing primarily the how responsive has the department been, the town and country planning been in addressing the supply side concerns. Primarily, when we prepare development plans, the primary focus is its enforcement, that things progress, the development plan gets implemented with minimum variations, and whereas the public sector agencies are empowered for land acquisition, land aggregation, and then development upon them. The department prepares an enabling policy environment for the private sector to cater to such demand. So what are the emerging challenges, basically, which we are now trying to address? So the most important challenge which has come before us is the new Land Acquisition Act, because of which the capacity of the state agencies, at least in Haryana, what we have seen is the capacity of the state agencies have almost tripled because they have not been able to acquire land. So they are resorting to land pooling, land partnership mechanisms. But since these are new to the state, so it's taking time. So in such circumstance, when the capacity of state agencies is getting crippled, it becomes all the more important for the department to address the supply side concerns so that there is a stimulus for the private sector to at least pitch in and do their bit so that the housing supply is not affected. So what are the major factors which we have done? The area norms. Earlier, for a plotted colony, the area norm used to be 100 acres. If you don't have 100 acres, you can't apply for a plotted colony. Now that has been reduced to 25 acres. So and similarly for group housing, 10 acres reduced to 5 acres, and so on and so forth. Then there was a migration policy introduced. So there were several projects which got stuck because of one or the more reasons. They were not getting implemented by the private sector. So the government brought about a migration policy so that all those struck projects could migrate to a different category of projects. So there were several new policies introduced for compact development so that the scarcity of land gets addressed. So where earlier plotted was the main focus, it shifted to affordable projects where like affordable group housing, the density rose from 100 persons per acre to close to 700 persons per acre. Then there was affordable plotted again, where smaller size plots were provided, and again the density increased from 100 to 300 persons per acre. And the challenge for infrastructure remained again, because earlier what was happening is in a sector, if part of land is getting licensed, the other part was getting acquired by Huda. So once Huda is not there, Haryana Shahri Vikas Pradhikaran, what we call now, if they are not there, then the need for acquiring the sector roads, the sub-arterial roads, that emerged, and which we are trying to address through TOD and TDR, sorry, and then mixed land use. So basically the focus is on compact development. So Gurgaon development plan, which was earlier planned for 42 lakhs, now through all these policies, it would accommodate by 2031 close to 80 lakhs. So the infrastructure requirements also get enhanced side by side. So the focus is now on reusing the treated water. So whereas each project, they themselves have a sewerage treatment plant, and the focus is that the flushing requirements should be taken care of that through that. Even GMDA is it has built a dual pipeline trunk infrastructure so as to recycle the treated wastewater from its sewage treatment plant back to the city's horticulture needs and whosoever wants a connection from that. So we go into further details. So the red part, these are all the new policies which the government brought in to address the new requirements. The important policy interventions, the migration policy, which we discussed now, the affordable group housing policy, I will focus on this a bit because this has, so in till 2012, the scenario was that in Gurgaon, if you wanted a flat, it cost not less than 1 to 1.5 crores. So a major chunk of the population was completely out of the market. It was not getting addressed. So through this policy, the minimum area was brought down and the FAR was enhanced from 175 to 225. The approach norms remained same, but the density was enhanced. So in a normal group housing colony, you got 300 persons per acre. Here you got 900, and the dwelling unit size was capped at 60 meter, the minimum at 28 square meter, and the rates were also capped at 4,200, 3,800, 3,200, depending upon which area of the state you are catering to. And for parking, only two-wheeler parking was assigned, so that the thought process was that it remains affordable forever. Even in resale, once you're not providing a proper car parking, the resale value doesn't go very high. So even today, the flats which are provided at 25 lakhs, 30 lakhs in Gurgaon, there is hardly a 5 lakhs or 7 lakhs jump in the rates, even in resale value. So it has worked quite well that way. The next was DDJY policy. This was basically for low and medium potential towns where people were not interested in group housing colonies. So this addressed that requirement. So the area norms were reduced. Again, the density was increased to 4 times from that of a normal plotted colony. The plot sizes were reduced. So there was a cap on plot size, can't be more than 150 square meter. Initially, it was thought that we also put a cap on the selling price, but then it was also decided that since we are making the whole process easy, you can obtain it for 5 acres of license, then there should be enough competition to bring the rates down. Eventually, it got extended to high and hyper potential towns also, but now there is a thought to close it in such towns and leave it for only low and medium potential. Then there was a TOD policy, which basically provided mixed land use development along the TOD corridors of Gurgaon, Faridabad, Bahadurgarh. So again, the density was enhanced, and the FAR was enhanced to 2.5 or 3.5, depending upon the zone where it was located, and up to 800 meters. The projects which fell during this in this corridor, they were extended this facility, and there have been many projects which have come up on this. So again, the new integrated license policy, which is a hybrid of plotted and group housing and commercial, so all those can be accommodated. So basically, the focus was on compactness, bringing in compactness rather than the sprawl which we were experiencing in plotted colonies. So basically, in the same development plan urbanizable limits, we could accommodate more people, higher dense developments. So this presents basically what the impact has been. So till in the last 2 years, if we see, the share of plotted was 59% till 2000, but that share in these last 2 years has gone down to just 4%. And group housing, which enjoyed a share of 21%, has gone down to 0.34%. So where has that share gone? It has basically gone to the affordable plotted, which now corners 46% of the total licenses which were granted during these 2 years period, and affordable group housing, which corners another 11%. So in terms of the housing stock generated and the licenses granted, if we see, we are right now at the peak. So the previous peak was 192 licenses in the year 2008. This year we are already at close to 205. But in terms of area, since the area parameters have been reduced, in terms of area, we are still only 2,250 acres compared to 2,500 acres compared to 3,500 acres. But if we see it in terms of the housing stock which is being added, it is again 1.5 times from the previous peak, because we are providing more compact development now. So the figure. So this is a bit interesting. So the bottom line that shows group housing development. So that is close to steady. And then the upper one, the deep blue line, that is affordable group housing. So that has been wavering a bit, and now it is dipping because of the affordable plotted housing taking off. So at different points of time, different policies have succeeded, but on the whole, the housing stock has kept getting added because of the change in the policies. So coming to the second part, that was of housing. Now coming to the infrastructure part, because since Huda is not acquiring these sectors, so how do we address the issue of acquisition of arterial roads, acquiring land for arterial roads, and then the sub-arterial 24-meter wide road network. So that was a major challenge. So this is Gurgaon development plan. The gray part is the development plan till 2001. So the colored part is now which is active from sector 58 to 115, in which most of the activities are being undertaken. And till 57, which is the gray part, it's mostly developed, 90% developed, and Huda played a major role in completing the external services over there and the sub-arterial network as well. So the developments within those sectors were by Huda as well as by private developers. So for now, we will be focusing on the balance 58 to 115, where the infrastructure is our main concern. So these are the sector roads. Thankfully, these got acquired in 2015 before the advent of the new Land Acquisition Act. Most of it is acquired. Somewhere it remains where there were parts. So if you see the difference, so what the jigsaw puzzle you is visible now, these are the licensed colonies. So these are the licensed colonies which have come up. So private sector developers have obtained licenses in these areas. So, and this red part are the sub-arterial networks. So the red part which we see now, these are the sub-arterial roads, the 24-meter roads which need to be constructed. And if we focus on the 58 to 67 part, so these are the licensed colonies. So as and how, so if you see these are quite irregular pockets. So as an the manner in which the private developer is able to acquire land, he obtains a license and the infrastructure grid remains intact basically. So eventually what happens is, you see within the sub-arterial network, there are patches of green and patches of red. The green patches are those for which someone would have obtained a license. So they are duty bound to construct that and put in infrastructure over that. But the red part is what remains. So that is yet to be acquired somehow, and then the entire network to be completed. So this purpose is sought to be basically fulfilled through the TDR policy, where we say that you, the landowner of that part applies for a TDR certificate, and the entire process is made online, and there is now a process is also on for online trading of these TDR certificates, so that the market becomes completely transparent, and as and when the trading part is complete, even at the moment on individual plots, up to 4 floors are with purchasable FAR. So that purchasable development rights policy would also go, and it would all be fulfilled through the TDR itself. So there would be adequate demand and supply match. So all the people who would be obtaining a TDR certificate by surrendering their land, there would be a sufficient demand eventually for those TDR certificates, because anyone, even individuals who would be opting for a higher FAR, they would have to go for the TDR certificate. So simultaneously, the department has also been responsive in amending its building codes from time to time, depending upon the requirements which have been felt. So now we have a complete structural safety guidelines incorporated within the system itself. Earlier, the structural engineers were not getting empaneled, and there were doubts whether the fraudulent mechanisms were adopted for that. So that has been plugged, and for higher buildings which are higher than 70 meters, certification from geotechnical engineer is required. Then there are agencies which are empaneled, which oversee, which do a third-party certification during the construction process to ensure that the structural drawings which were submitted, they are being complied with. Other sub-segments of the market, retirement housing. So since earlier when we land allotment for old age homes or things like that, so those things used to get catered. But since there are the public sector agencies' involvement has got reduced to quite for all these segments, so that the private sector can pitch in. So for that, there is a new policy for grant of license for retirement housing. This has been worked for the last 1 year, and already 3 projects are in the pipeline. Just for women's housing, then the government decided that it should be called just women's housing. So another is affordable rental housing. So since the rental housing market was not getting catered and everyone is not normally interested in owning a house, so to cater to that policy, and a student rental housing policy through grant of CLU permission. So medico-assisted living facilities, because there are people who are not need to be in the hospital, but they still is. So that's all, and thanks for a patient here.